what's like one of the hardest parts of running a conservation, like, save the forest kind of organization? Do you see the most hurdles from government? Do you see a lot of hurdles from like other organizations like a PETA, or just a lot of hurdles from just regular old people who just don't understand?
I think there's sort of two aspects, and they sort of stem from really one aspect, and that's people.
Yeah.
People just, unless you grew up in a rural setting or you grew up in a family that made going into the outdoors a priority, it's not top of mind for you to think about. So, trying to, and because of that, that means there's a smaller pool of people that do like, I'm not saying that most people don't care about conservation, but the people that are really passionate about it, it's a small pool of people. And there are a ton of different conservation organizations out there, that are all sort of vying for their dollar, their donations, their volunteerism. So that really sort of makes it the hardest to be a new nonprofit that's starting out, is really getting enough support to be, to looked at as being viable on a political scale or on a larger scale than just your sort of backyard.
Yeah, and it's honestly the people who really are all gung ho about it and very much invested into it. It's if you ask most people in New York City, it's not going to be people they expect. I bet they're not going to say that many hunters care about, like, no, they don't care about the environment. They just want to kill things, right? But like, no, like, a lot of hunters, like, specifically in Africa, you hear stories a lot where they have to kill this like rhinoceros because it's terrorizing, the local village or community there, and they have to do it. But if they want to go kill it, they have to pay for it, and all the money they pay for it goes to conserving the wild. So people just like, that's just like a thing I know that I know a lot of people just don't know. How correct am I on that?
I mean, you're correct. It makes absolutely zero sense, right? In order to save animals, you have to
kill them,
kill some of them, right? And that's where a lot of people get hung up. They look at the act of hunting as this terrible, terrible thing when you look at this one individual animal, right? Yeah, and as a hunter, I actually get zero joy in the act of pulling the trigger or releasing an arrow. Like that's, while I'm accomplishing the goal, I'm not ecstatic about that, right? But I look at it sort of pragmatically in that, yes, this one animal had to die, but the, hundreds or thousands or millions in the case of whitetail deer, they're going to benefit because that's then more food for them. And then, using that one animal every way that I possibly can to, sort of make its death a little more worthwhile, by consuming the meat, things like that. It makes it a little more palatable in your mind, as you go through it. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of when you pull the trigger, there's definitely, remorse is the wrong word. I won't say I feel remorse, but the weight of the decision that you just made, it hits you. And then, okay, now there's work to do. I got to make sure, I do what I need to do to find the animal and use as much of it as I possibly can.
I mean, it's got to be a thrill, though. I mean, come on, like, after you hit it and, like, you take that, you got to be like, oh, yeah, right, nail. Like, there's got to be some sort of, like, hitting a hole in one. And that's the end of the clip. Shot dead in its tracks. That's a really bad hunting pun. You know what? I'm not even going to do my plugs anymore. That was such a bad pun, I'm going to cut it off right now. You're welcome.